Advisory. Some episodes of the 1836 podcast are not intended for all audiences due to details that might be considered disturbing. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
In the turbulent years following the Civil War, the small town of Searcy, Arkansas, became a battleground of racial and political strife. Two men, Ban Humphries and Albert H. Parker, met violent ends there in 1868, their deaths intertwined with the rise of the Ku Klux Klan and the struggle for control during Reconstruction. Their stories, marked by courage, betrayal, and unpunished crimes, unfolded against a backdrop of a divided South. Ban Humphries, an African-American man, lived in White County, Arkansas, during a time of intense political upheaval. Little was recorded about his early life. His birth date, family, or origins remained undocumented. What was known was that from 1861 to 1863, Humphries had served as an enslaved servant in the Confederate Army, enduring the hardships of war under coercion. After the war, he settled in Searcy, a cotton-rich town of about 700 residents. By 1868, Humphries was believed to be aligned with the Republican Party, a dangerous association in a region where former Confederates and their sympathizers sought to suppress black political power. Some conflicting reports suggested he leaned toward the Democrats, but his perceived Republican ties made him a target during the pivotal 1868 election, when Arkansas was readmitted to the Union. On the night of August 28th to 29th, 1868, Humphreys' life was brutally cut short. Around midnight, a group of men, later identified as William E. Brundage, James W. Russell, and Howell Bradley, all alleged Ku Klux Klan members, dragged Humphries from his home. They shot him in the head, and he lingered for an hour but never regained consciousness. The murder was no random act. It was a calculated strike to intimidate black voters and disrupt Republican influence. Leroy Burrow, a White County resident, later testified that the killers acted under orders from Klan superiors, targeting Humphries for his supposed influence as a Republican leader. The Arkansas Gazette reported the outrage of local citizens, though Democratic-leaning accounts muddied the waters, falsely claiming Humphries was a Democrat killed by Republicans. His death, one of several race-related killings in White County that year, sent a chilling message to black communities. Humphries' murder reverberated beyond Searcy, catching the attention of Arkansas's Republican Governor Powell Clayton. Determined to curb the Klan's reign of terror, Clayton dispatched agents to investigate. One of these agents was Albert H. Parker, a man whose life had already traced a complex path across the American South. Albert H. Parker was born in New York, likely in the 1820s or 1830s, though no records pinpointed the exact date or place. His early years were shrouded in mystery. Nothing was known of his family, education, or childhood. Before the Civil War, Parker had relocated to Texas, possibly drawn by the promise of opportunity in the expanding South or its pro-slavery ideology. There he built a life, though details of his occupation or status remained elusive. When the war broke out in 1861, Parker joined the Confederate Army, rising to the rank of captain, likely in a Texas unit. His service suggested a commitment to the Confederate cause, honed through combat or logistical roles across the South. The Confederacy's defeat in 1865 marked a turning point for Parker. By 1868, he had undergone a dramatic transformation, aligning himself with the Republican administration in Arkansas. Whether driven by pragmatism or a genuine shift in beliefs, Parker sought out Governor Clayton in Little Rock, carrying letters of recommendation from high-ranking officials. Clayton, impressed by Parker's military background and familiarity with Southern dynamics, hired him as one of 12 agents tasked with investigating Klan activities. Posing as a cattle buyer, Parker was sent to Searcy in September 1868 to probe Humphries' murder and uncover the Klan's operations. Searcy was a hostile environment for an outsider like Parker. The local Klan, known as the Searcy Den, was led by prominent figures, including Dandridge McCrae, a former Confederate general and attorney, and Jacob Frolich, editor of the White County Record. Racial tensions simmered, fueled by the Klan's campaign to suppress black voting and Republican governance. Strange posters appeared around town, proclaiming cryptic messages of retribution and Klan dominance. Hooded Klansmen rode through the streets, blending acts of charity with intimidation, as Frolich's newspaper promoted white supremacy. Parker's investigation quickly bore fruit. He confirmed Brundage's role in Humphries' murder and uncovered the Klan's deep roots among Searcy's elite. But his inquiries raised suspicions. Spending more time questioning locals than buying cattle, Parker drew the attention of Klan members, including a postmaster who intercepted his letters to Clayton, exposing his true identity. The Klan's response was swift and brutal. In early October of 1868, Parker was lured to the McConaughey farm south of Searcy, possibly under the pretense of meeting a witness. There, a group of Klansmen, John McCauley, John Holland, William Edwards, and James Russell, ambushed him. They gagged him, shot him, and threw his body into a well, covering it with wood to conceal their crime. On October 14, 1868, a farmer discovered Parker's remains, confirming the grim fate of the federal agent. His murder, like Humphries's, was part of the Klan's broader effort to undermine Reconstruction. No records indicated Parker's age at death, but he was likely in his late 20s to mid-40s, based on his wartime service. His body, found in a hostile region, far from his New York roots or Texas past, may not have received a formal burial. It was possible federal authorities interred him in an unmarked grave in White County, or, less likely, his remains were sent to New York or Texas. The chaotic record-keeping of Reconstruction-era Arkansas left no trace of his final resting place, nor any mention of a spouse, children, or surviving kin. The aftermath of the murders saw a flicker of hope for justice, but it was quickly extinguished. In 1870, John McCauley, a young Klansman racked by guilt, confessed to his role in Parker's murder, implicating McCrae, Frolich, and others. Another Klansman corroborated his account, and Governor Clayton sent the state militia to arrest the suspects. McCauley, Holland, Edwards, and Russell were indicted, while McCrae and Frolich fled to avoid charges. By 1871, trials were held in Devall's Bluff, but political machinations derailed justice. A backroom deal ensured the Klan's silence during the 1860-8 election in exchange for acquittals. Key witnesses, including Leroy Burrough, were not subpoenaed, and McCauley invoked the Fifth Amendment. On August 21, 1872, McCauley, Holland, and Edwards were found not guilty in a trial that lasted a single day. McCrae and Frolich, tried separately, were also acquitted, with no evidence presented to connect them to the crime. The men implicated in the murders outlived their victims by decades. McCrae, a respected Searcy attorney, died in 1899 and was buried in Oak Grove Cemetery, his legacy honored with a town and school named after him. Frolich, who became Arkansas Secretary of State in 1878, died in 1890. Brundage relocated to Texas, living until 1930. Russell, Holland, Edwards, and Burrough remained in White County, dying between 1900 and 1915. Macaulay passed away in Louisiana in 1897. Despite confessions and evidence, no one was ever convicted for the murders of Humphries or Parker. The deaths of Ban Humphries and Albert H. Parker stood as stark reminders of the violence that plagued Reconstruction. Humphries, a black man targeted for his perceived political influence, and Parker, a federal agent who dared to challenge the Klan, paid the ultimate price in a town gripped by fear and division. Their murders, Searcy's oldest unsolved crimes, exposed the Klan's reach and the fragility of justice in a South struggling to redefine itself. Though their lives were cut short, their stories, preserved in historical accounts, bore witness to the courage and sacrifice of those who confronted hatred in a time of turmoil.